It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we move into a Thursday, Gary, what's happening?
Well, the day went downhill from the time that I went to the mailbox this morning. And when I went to the mailbox, I looked in the mailbox, I pulled it out, and there it was, Social Security Administration.
Dun, dun, dun.
There it was. Now, I was expecting, because everything that I've read said 4 months before I reach the maximum age, because I didn't collect at 66 years and 2 months.
Right.
So I'm waiting until I'm 70 to do that, which will be
September.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I say October 1st but it's my birthday's in September, but October 1st I've been using as that. So I figured I could start the end of this month, but I got the Social Security. Notice yesterday I can apply now. And they said apply early to make sure.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be able to figure out that I'm an American citizen, because way before the deadline, which was yesterday, I had my enhanced license and I've got my passport. So I can prove that I'm a United States citizen.
I don't know. We talked about the movie Argo, man. You can pull off some things with documents.
But then I started thinking, wait a minute, because and by the way, this is the It's All About Me segment of the show.
Yeah.
You know that I have been very, very, very high on the no taxes for Social Security.
Right.
Simply for my own greedy purposes.
And I think Ted Cruz introduced a part of the legislation that said accept Gary McNamara.
Well, no, what bothered me, though, then I saw that and I went, okay, all right, this is okay. Did my shopping, came back home, sat down, got ready to do show prep, and I went, uh-oh, the Senate just introduced their bill for no tax on overtime. It's not no tax on all overtime. It's going to be no taxes on some overtime.
Oh, this is gonna get so hairy.
Maximum of $10,000 per person, $20,000 per family. You don't get it if you make over $100,000 single, $200,000. You don't get the benefit of being able to deduct the overtime. But I don't care about that because I'm salary. You other suckers deal with that.
Yeah.
All I care about is if they're going to limit that, I bet you they're going to limit Social Security. I bet you they're going to say, because I have decided to continue working.
Yeah.
And this thing's going to work against me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to continue working, and I know it's going to happen. They're going to say, sorry, if you make over this, you're not going to be able to collect. I believe all these things are probably going to be means tested in some way.
Well, you and I suspected that when they got into even, I don't know, a halfway serious framework discussion.
That's the key word of the day,
yeah,
framework
discussion on Social Security of finally sitting down and having any kind of serious conversation about it. There will probably be means tests involved. That's at least one of the ideas that will be floated. I think one of the things they'll do is they'll keep lifting the cap. I don't know. They may do away with the cap altogether. I don't know. And I think ultimately they're going to do a means test. If you have my question would be, how far do they go on it? Because they've talked about this before. They talked about this. Well, one idea we could do, one thing that's been talked about is blah, 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 blah. If you've got existing wealth, a net worth of whatever, and then they draw the line there. Or, as you state, if you're still working. And if you've got any other, just keep punishing people for working harder.
All I want is what's coming to me. All I want is my fair share. from A Charlie Brown Christmas.
Yeah.
No, I just thought it was whatever happens. But I'm just having fun here, folks.
Well, no,
but,
I
but,
think
but
I
the,
think
but the point,
if they're going to start limiting on what they can do in terms of how they can fit all of this in, and make the fiscal conservatives happy. I think there has to be some limitations.
Well, look, the reason it's happening is because they look at it and say, we can't cut.
Right.
I think that's what's going. We really can't cut. We're not going to be able to cut. That's going to be used against us. If we do all of this, if it was unlimited, no tax on Social Security, no tax on tips, and no tax on overtime.
Right.
What they're afraid of is people will want to be paid in different ways and do whatever, and however companies will do it or people will do it, they're afraid of, and they're afraid of the cost if it's unlimited, and so they really, really want to narrow it down. I mean, the whole thing, you saw the infighting also now on the SALT. Mm-hmm. Republicans can't come to an agreement on it because you've got blue state Republicans saying no, we want a lot more, and you've got the fiscal conservatives saying, no, we don't want to bail out. We don't want to bail out, or there's no way we want to take the cost of the bad tax policy of the blue states.
It's where we began on all of it.
Yeah. My point was, I'm going to be fine. That's why I said it, and I wasn't surprised at it. I just figured this is a way to start the conversation.
Well,
but when it comes to tax on tips, how are they going to limit that? When it comes to Social Security, remember, Social Security, I think pre-81, 82 was not taxed. Mm-hmm. But the point that you're bringing up, which is a totally legit point, if you're somebody, we both have family members that worked blue-collar jobs their whole life, but invested and saved. They took $10 a week, $20 a week, $30 a week, 40 years ago, and they put it into investments, and now they have done very well for themselves. They live beneath their means.
Yep.
Their whole goal was, I don't want to be. And we talked about this yesterday when it comes to the work ethic and the things that that we paying your loans back, everything else. That when you have that mentality, you're going to be much less of a drag. In fact, you may be a positive when it comes to, the government as to what you actually need from the government. You're being responsible, and then you get punished for it down the road.
Right.
And that philosophy from government, if they do it there, and Republicans now agree to that, and they start saying that, well, somebody who's rich doesn't need it, it's just somebody who is poor, well, then the government is enabling and sending the message that if you do the wrong thing, we'll make sure we bail you out, and if you do the right thing, we won't. And there are people out there. I look at it this way: when you look at the $10,000, forget about that. We've talked about people that work two jobs. Mm-hmm. My dad worked two jobs. I know your dad worked multiple jobs. Mm-hmm. I worked two jobs going to college. I mean, I was working 50.
I was working two jobs up until 2007, 2008.
During college, I was working 50 to 55 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I didn't get overtime, but the fact is I was making myself less of a drag, for example, on college loans, that they were private, but the government was still backing them. Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't have to worry about me defaulting because I said, no, I think I don't want to get into debt. I didn't do it for any virtue reason that I wish to save the government. It was simply, I don't want to get in debt. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, I was still doing the right thing. I was doing the responsible thing that people expect you to do, and many other people have done the same thing. I saw Scott Besson talking about, because they were trying to get him yesterday on, you talk about the elite, you're part of the elite. He goes, I worked all during my college. I had to pay for a significant portion of it. Man, yesterday was a zoo. We'll get to all that stuff coming up. Mm-hmm. But that would be my concern, that people who do the right thing, especially if they means test through the wealth that you have. Well, if you've got $1 million saved, you don't get it. Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, I know a ton of blue collar people. I remember you and I talking to a trucking executive that said the thing that pleased him the most, one of the things that pleased him the most, and these are truck drivers. He goes, these aren't, and this goes back 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But these aren't people that are became millionaires through their salaries, but they started because we had a 401k early on. They started putting money in early on. Remember, he talked about the number of millionaire truck drivers that have $1 million, or more in their savings. Well, should they be means tested?
Right.
It's like, sorry, you did the right thing, because I'm sure there were other people that didn't do the right
14 hours a day.
Right. You worked your head off. You lived beneath your means. You didn't buy the latest thing. You did what was right. So the number one reason you do it is because the best security you can possibly have in your life is what you create yourself.
Yeah.
That's the best security you can have. You do. But then the government punishes you and says, no, you did the right thing, and so we don't need to help you, but now we need to make sure that it isn't tax policy anymore. It becomes, the tax system becomes a welfare system, and I'm completely against that.
Yeah, this is really the fundamentals of redistributive rights, what the left believes in, what they've been pushing for a long time. And it works in the favor of either party that's trying to fit it into the budget.
Yeah.
Which is where the GOP is right now, because, $36 trillion. I mean, look at everything that we're under, all of the pressure that we're under is based on the fact that very few people relatively care about the national debt, and it's not going to change in our lifetime if it doesn't change now. With the advent of Doge, if we don't get this thing, if we don't get our stuff together and our ducks lined up here, then it will never change. And if we see this with reconciliation, if this is how they're going to come in and fit it in, whether they do it now or next time around, I mean, this is always the approach. Nothing's going to change. The GOP's not going to change. And the reason the GOP's not going to change is because the rank and file, the majority of them now,
aren't screaming.
No. Chip Roy's up there. He's loud. Why aren't all of them up there loud? Well, because their constituents in their districts aren't screaming like the ones in Chip Roy's district in Texas. Yeah. It's insane.
Well, but it reflects, we've always said, where people say, well, the how come the political parties don't do what the people want? Well, they actually do.
Yeah. Right.
They do. It may not be everybody, but they do what they believe will get them the votes the next time they need it.
Right.
And that's why we said just for Trump approaching Doge, whether it succeeds in Congress or not, is so gutsy, because there isn't a lot of upside when the whole purpose is to be more efficient and therefore cut.
Right.
That's a gutsy thing to do, and it's a great thing to do. But if you do it, and then you don't push and I'm talking the administration and the Republicans in Congress, you don't push for it in the bill, then it's the worst thing that you could do.
Yeah.
Because then we're not going to do a Doge again.
Right.
It's not going to happen, because it's like, okay, everybody jumped on it, we hyped it, but we really didn't see any cuts overall to the budget. We cut programs, but we added over here, and the entire purpose of what you have to do is cut the budget, or just do what Paul Ryan did.
Yeah.
A 30-year plan or something.
Yeah. Anything.
Just anything. And remember, though, when Paul Ryan did the 30-year plan to balance the budget, remember the Democrats put out the commercials with Paul Ryan pushing old people in a wheelchair off a cliff.
Right.
And that was 30 years to balance the budget.
Full-page ads.
Yeah.
Now, wasn't really Paul Ryan. It was an actor that looked a lot like him. But that was the point, is that Paul Ryan and Republicans were trying to kill old people.
Well, you're right. Paul Ryan probably didn't volunteer. Well, if you're going to do it, let me actually push the person off the cliff in a wheelchair.
Listen, as long as they pay you, why not? The problem, well, by the end of Paul Ryan's time on Capitol Hill, wasn't he kind of working for the Democrats anyway? So,
and if you listen to him now,
yeah,
you could get that impression.
Exactly.
We've got a great show ahead. It was a zoo yesterday.
Yeah.
If there was ever a microcosm that you could take of one day, that the Democrats aren't going to change on anything, they're going to be as radical and promote being as radical as possible. Yesterday was that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe today will be another day that they do it. But yesterday was like, I just shook my head the whole day going, wow, they just don't get it. They just don't get it.
They're not letting up.
Yep.
Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
Hey there. This is Hope Zavara with Mother Trucker Yoga. And here's your health tip of the day. Healthy driver, healthy diesel, powered by House. Lower back pain is one of the most common complaints amongst truck drivers, with over 50% experiencing it regularly. Let's fix that. Sit up tall in your seat. Inhale and arc your lower back away from the seat, like there's a pin behind you you're trying to avoid. Now exhale, round your back, and tuck your tailbone under, just like the shape of the letter C. Repeat that movement 5, 10, even 15 times until your lower back and hips start to loosen up and feel ready for the road. There you go. Small, simple changes can lead to big results so that you, my friend, can feel good again. Visit mothertruckeryoga.com and houseproducts.com for more tips and support.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, all AI has now stopped officially. Did you see that video of the robot?
Look, it's
on Fox News, the robot going crazy. Like,
just starts swinging.
It's just swinging at the
because that's the moment it became self-aware. It starts going Jackie Chan on everybody.
I mean, I went, this isn't real. This is from iRobot, the movie from 2004 with Will Smith.
No, it kind of looks like me dancing.
Or Elaine.
Very desperate swings and body movements that make no sense at all. Unless you're a killer robot.
I looked at it, and when I looked at it, I said, this looks like somebody on meth trying to fight. I mean, totally amped up.
Yeah.
It's like,
when I saw it yesterday, I put my Roomba in my truck, drove it 40 miles outside of town, and threw it in a ditch.
Oh, gosh. I burst out laughing yesterday. I went, well, this isn't real. This has to be a outtake from the movie iRobot. It's real.
It's real. Yeah, holy smokes. Wow.
That's going to delay humanoid looking robots.
Yeah.
In your home.
Yeah. Well, can you imagine? You get one home, right? You get it out of the box. You got to put that on YouTube, don't you? Unboxing my first humanoid robot. And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm going to get it to mow the lawn. And it starts fighting you. It's just like a teenager.
Right, exactly.
Why would I pay for that?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny when you look at it.
It's just it's really scary.
We've got a lot of stuff coming up. New York Times, CNBC, Wall Street Journal talking about looks like a possible framework of a deal with Great Britain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah. We'll see what that looks like. According to the New York Times, they're going to announce it as early as sometime today. So we'll see what happens there. And the Wall Street Journal saying what the White House hopes is a series of trade agreements.
Yeah, the White House said they're announcing it today.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it said. Yeah.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning.
Now I'm afraid to use my dishwasher.
Why?
Anything that works by itself.
Oh, okay. We're back to the robot. I thought, when you said dishwasher, I thought you meant tariffs.
Yeah. I don't want it to break and have to buy a new one.
That's what I thought you meant.
Yeah.
Like we're still on robots. All right. Yeah. But Wall Street Journal, CNBC, New York Times, all talking about the fact that the President Trump expected to announce a trade deal. Now you've got, I think it's the CNBC saying they don't know if it's a framework or actually a trade deal. It'd be very, very interesting if it was a trade deal done that quick with everything.
Yeah, the Wall Street Journal in their subheadline, the deal is expected to be a framework of an agreement with tariff adjustments. If they got a deal done this quickly.
They said this announcement is likely just an agreement to start the negotiations, identifying a framework of issues that will be discussed in the upcoming months, said international trade attorney Tim Brightbill. We suspect that tariff rates, non-tariff barriers, and digital trade are all on the list, and there are difficult issues to address in all of these. The White House and the British Embassy did not respond to a request for comment.
Well, on Truth Social, and the White House put this on the X page. Big news. This is from Donald Trump's, the President Trump's Truth Social. Big news conference tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. The Oval Office concerning a major trade deal with representatives of a big and highly respected country, the first of many. That was posted 4 hours ago by the White House on X, which was a repost of President Trump's post on Truth Social. So then, if the question would be, all right, because it's not I don't expect it to be a final deal. You'll hear language like, we're working on other details. It's going to get better as it goes along. In fact, we can't tell you everything because it's so great, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you pump that into the markets over and over again, repeatedly. Again, the president writing, the first of many. Well, they announce the sit down with China coming up this weekend. Don't know what that's going to look like. Don't know what's going to come of that. By the way, that could end up being exactly what you and I had talked about years ago during his first term, and that could be where he wants to get all the deals done on the table. He wants to, again, the first of many. You sit down with China, but you announce all the other deals first in order to corner China and choke them out, which needs to happen on intellectual property rights and some other issues. I'm greatly concerned about Huawei, the AI company in China, and NVIDIA's CEO saying, look, they're formidable. This was, I think, last week when he said they're not behind when it comes to AI. And that's, the great concern. NVIDIA does sell chips, the H20 chip, to China. And that's where the U.S. government came in and had them get a permit now based on selling that chip to China, because we rightly should know what kind of AI, information or technology is being sold to them, what they have available to them. There's a lot of things we won't know about Huawei, but with NVIDIA, at least we can control. We could monitor what kind of activity there is with China and advancements on AI. I just have to assume on AI, and this is the greatest concern is national defense when it comes to AI, in my opinion. Of any nation, we should be greatly concerned about China and AI on national defense. And if that is the case, then we're greatly concerned about intellectual property rights when it comes to AI, with Huawei and other methods of stealing intellectual property rights from NVIDIA or any other AI company, chip maker. And that's been an ongoing concern, but I think it really needs to be highlighted and repeated. I think it needs to be monitored closely. I think it needs to be discussed often. I think we're in a situation with China right now where you could get these frameworks or whatever it is with everybody else settled. We close the sale on Canada. They become the 51st state. Jeez. And you look at China and say, okay, we're all lined up against you. We all now have deals. I think, by the way, that may be what Besant was concerned with going in, what was it, a few weeks ago, when Navarro was kind of carved out of the herd and Besant took control of what was going on with trade deals. I think Besant may have been concerned with the language coming out of China because they were talking about choking everybody else out or choking the U.S. out and working with everybody else.
Understand the Great Britain is probably an easy one to get a trade deal with.
Yeah.
Even if you eventually come to a trade deal, it's not surprising because generally Great Britain has run a trade deficit with the United States.
Yep.
The United States has a trade surplus with Great Britain.
Right.
So that's, again, now it has fluctuated, and it shows, for example, that in the 4 quarters that ended Q3 of 24, the UK last year up to that had a good surplus of, 1.9 billion.
Yeah. Right.
Is that euros or pounds? I don't know. 1.9 billion compared to a trade in goods deficit of $1 billion in the 4 quarters at the end of 2023. So it fluctuates back and forth. But if you look at the trade deficit, it's even. But they say generally Great Britain has a trade deficit.
Yeah.
So you're not talking about a lot of money in the deficit or surplus either way.
It's
so
like South Korea.
Right.
It's not a big
right.
game.
So if you wanted to get one, that would be it. And as we have said, it all comes to the fact of if it's a framework, because there's thousands of things to negotiate, thousands, and so we'll see what's in this one. We'll see whether the president, as he said the other day, wants tariffs on all nations, but they don't tariff us. We'll see whether countries actually go along with that, or whether the president doesn't do what he generally has talked about, because there's talked about the fact that we can't have a trade deficit with anybody. It must be a trade surplus. And how you do that is impossible for every country. You can't be equal or have a trade surplus with every country. It's just impossible to do that. And if it's where he's just simply saying, let's lower tariffs on both in order to isolate China eventually, that's which is, we believe, what the goal should be. I'm totally behind that.
Yeah.
That would be fine. But if you're saying that we put the tariffs on them and they have no tariffs on us, so we always have a trade surplus, that's the last thing I want to do, because you're then permanently saying that goods and services are going to be higher here, and that American companies don't need to compete.
Right. Yeah.
Because if American companies don't have to compete, we know what happens. By the way, I don't know whether this is partly to do with it, but you saw Cleveland Cliffs, the U.S. steel maker, temporarily lowering production of steel. They announced that, I think, yesterday. I think the Wall Street Journal had that yesterday, or the day before they announced that. Yeah. For the next few months because of a lack of demand.
Right.
So none of this surprises me. You notice every single day there was always a positive news. We've got something coming. We've got something coming. The goal is to keep the stock market up. And if you get a framework of a deal that keeps the stock market up from a country that does not most of the time have a trade deficit with you, that at least gives investors hope you've got something on the table.
Well, and that if you say series of deals or the first of many then you can expect other easy deals or easy nations.
Right.
Israel, South Korea. It's it's not going to be major players because, the bigger question is, all right, why don't you start with Canada? You had the new prime minister in the White House the other day. Well, you don't want to look like you're conceding on anything too fast, right? You certainly want to. And if there's something you need to change, and major things you're going to need to change, you're not going to make a quick deal on that one. So the ones that are greatly of the greatest concern, number one being China because of the amount of things that we import from China, but also the rate of tariffs is number one. But then Canada and Mexico being our closest neighbors. So those things have to.
And we have
we'll
more.
See where they
we do more trade with Canada back and forth than any other nation.
Right.
And again, I don't know. I don't know what the president wants. We may get an idea tomorrow with the framework, because if the president agrees to the framework, then that's not things he says, that's things he does.
Right.
And then we'll know. Remember, we dealt with this with Canada the first time, where he was in the first term railing against Canada, and then did the trade agreement and said it was the best trade agreement ever. And now it's a piece of crap. So, again, he changes his minds on things that he negotiates himself. And so I guess we'll see here.
Well, and you can see there's not much movement in the market, in the pre-markets right now. It's not what you would expect. It's not the pop that was, because that's what you have to wait for now. This is what I think, where I think everything is priced in is, okay, we'll see what they do. The language isn't going to play into it as much as anything else. It's going to have to be, show us the work. Show us something meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been, even before this was announced, when the Fed chair, it still remained flat. Up a little bit, but still flat. Well, I think it went up a little bit after the announcement that there might be a trade deal.
Right.
Look.
It's up a half a point on the Dow right now on the pre-market and a full point on NASDAQ. But again, that's not much movement for a pending announcement. And it's coming from Trump himself. That's the thing, is that you would think the market would be, oh, let's go. This is going to happen. It's the wait and see approach. We don't know what it will look like. As you point out, it's Britain. It's the UK. What are the other deals? Because if it does turn out it's, South Korea, Israel, and it's big movers.
No, but it does set a pattern, though, because by putting this out and saying the framework of the deal that we're lowering tariffs and we want to lower them across the board, the United States, whatever, that sets the base pattern for other countries that wish to negotiate. Yeah. All right, you made a trade deal with Great Britain, and you're not putting tariffs on them. You're lowering them across the board. That's good. We want that. We want that same deal.
Depending on what it looks like. Yeah.
Right.
In the announcement.
Because you don't have to sit there and say, okay, you need Canada or Great Britain, you need to buy as much from us as we buy from you, as you would have to do with China. That would be impossible to do.
And that's probably your 200 points on the upside right now of, okay, all right, this is a good thing.
Start.
We'll see what it ends up being, how big it is, how big the announcement is, what does it really do, and then we get back to square one. Hey, what about China? And that's what the market is waiting for. That's what everybody's waiting for.
Mr. President, get at it, because I need to make sure that my 401k is doing great, because I may not get no taxes on Social Security come October.
Right. Just going to have to bury some coins in your backyard or something.
Get that 401k going. 866-990 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Coming up on the top of the hour, did you see some of the scenes from Colombia yesterday?
Yeah.
Or last night? Mm-hmm. And apparently ISIS, has been informed. I guess everybody went in there and they just locked the door for a while. Then the police went in, made sure all the doors were locked, and they went in and got everybody.
Yeah, right.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yep.
And the screaming and yelling. And the summer of leftist insanity, has it started now? Has it started early? Because I believe they've got nothing right now. Yesterday was an absolute microcosm showing that they're not going to change. They are not going to change.
No, they're not. And look, and I think the campuses realize too. Look, we can't do this. We can't. It's as radical as some of these campuses are, and the administrations are. They can't have this kind of disruption.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. All right, I got to ask the question. Has one Democrat come out against Disney?
Haven't heard it.
Everything sort of yesterday related to my retirement plan.
It's not looking good. It is not looking good for you.
Because I first saw the Disney story that streaming is up. And so my first thought is, people that don't know, it's not a big, but I have a small pension from when I work for Disney.
Right. I rolled mine over.
You rolled yours over, and they wouldn't let me do it.
Mm-hmm.
I got up to that certain point. They wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah.
So luckily, they've been paying that to me since I've been 62.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at what Disney's been going through, and my first thought over the last few years is, all right, if I can make it a few more years, I want to get what you got if you rolled it over. Just get it over a period of years.
Right.
I need to live because I want to be able to collect everything I would have gotten if I would have rolled it over.
Right.
But
to be clear, you don't have retirement in your future anytime soon.
No.
But I'm doing the math. By the time you actually retire, you're not going to have anything. It's between Congress. I think they're going to probably by that time double the taxes on Social Security for people that worked past the age of 70,
right?
Or some stupid stuff, and then the Disney thing will be. Look, we need the retirees to help us out and give us back your pension. You need to start writing us a check. Yeah. It's just getting worse and worse.
The Democrats get back in power and accuse me of double dipping.
Yeah, exactly.
You're double dipping. What are you talking about? You're working and collecting Social Security.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not double dipping.
You have two retirements. You have Disney and Social Security. You can't have both. What are you, the Lion King?
I was thinking double dipping because I was still working. I forgot that I had I forgot I had two of them.
Right.
Social Security and the it's not a big pension, by the way. It's not a lot of money.
No, it's not. It is a small world after all.
Well, I got it for being at Disney 8 years, I think.
Yeah.
7 years.
I was there
years?
11.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's only a small pension, but I've always chuckled about it on the air. So I saw that yesterday that the streaming is up for them, and my first thought was, oh, okay, maybe I'll collect for a couple of years, and then the Disney to build a park in the United Arab Emirates.
Yeah, in Abu Dhabi. Yeah,
I absolutely I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah,
and I went, all right, we're both Eric and I now. Let's see if the Democrats go crazy about Disney doing this after they went crazy when Disney supported fully that. When did it start? First grade, second grade, third graders should have access to sexually explicit content, including being taught that, well, you can be whatever sex you wish to be at an extremely young age. Remember the Don't Say Gay bill, which, again, was completely false.
Right. That's what the liberals called it.
Right.
It was not that at all.
It was completely false. No. And so the sexually explicit content to children Disney was for, that's discrimination. That's discrimination. That's discrimination. That's discrimination against the LBGTQ plus whatever.
BLTGQ.
And now they're going to the United Arab Emirates, a place where homosexuality is illegal with a minimum of 6 months in prison if convicted, a minimum, and there is no upper cap on what the punishment can be, including death. And I've not seen on social media one Democrat. If it's out there, let me know. But I haven't seen one Democrat that's gone crazy about this.
Well, are they going to have the same celebrations, for LGBTQ at the park in Abu Dhabi?
Pride Day?
Yeah. Is that going to happen?
I don't think so.
I'm guessing not.
No. So I just was like, oh my gosh. So I have not seen anything on it at all.
No, I haven't seen any pushback from the left. None.
And so there was so much that got my day going yesterday, and then the different hearings that were going on in Congress for the radical transgender movement. And the left's just nuts. I mean, they're just not. They're absolutely insane.
Yeah,
they are. I go back to that one consultant that was at a political consultant for companies, how to get through the politics of everything, who was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner and was interviewed and just said, I've come to the conclusion they're insane.
Yeah.
She said, because there we are, and all the reporters are clapping. She goes, and what they're clapping about wasn't true.
Right.
And she said, I had to, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I'm analyzing this and saying, what do you call it? She said, because when I say that they're insane, people say, okay, you're just over the top. You're just name calling. She said, that's not the case. I'm not trying to be snarky. I'm asking a legitimate question.
Right.
If what you believe is not true, if you believe is based on a delusion, then what do you call it? What do you call it when people base their mindset and their narrative on something that is so self-evident that is not true? When their observation of reality is complete delusion. She said, I call that insanity. If you're not in the real world, what is that called? If you don't have the ability to be in the real world, what is that called?
You're delusional. You're crazy.
Right. Now, we've always said they believe in insane ideas because it's very tough for me to get into the human brain and figure out why you're doing it. Because if you're doing it because you want a certain power and control, then that wouldn't be viewed as insane. If you know, and I believe that a significant portion of the members of the Democrat Congress know that what they're promoting is delusional. I don't believe they're delusional. I think that's how they believe they keep their power. Well, at that point, you're not insane. But the people, when we see, when you and I saw the professor at Berkeley, and going back and forth with Josh Hawley a couple of years ago, where he's simply asking questions. Please explain this whole transgender thing to me. And she said, well, you asking these questions is transphobic. What do you mean? I'm trying to figure out how you think. Yes. And transgenders have one of the highest rates of suicide. And so you're transphobic. Well, are you saying that if I ask questions, people will commit suicide? And then she said, well, do you believe that men can get pregnant? And he said, no. See, right there. Well, you could see her passion. It was more than a politician. It was, she's in the culture of Berkeley, the insane Berkeley narrative, and she's actually trying to make the case that Josh Hawley was committing some type of act of violence and enabling people to commit suicide, where she never seemed to recognize that you're making the argument that transgenders are mentally unstable. And if you don't agree with them, they'll commit suicide, and that's on you because you should understand that they're mentally unstable. That's the argument that the Democrats are making. Yeah, and she was making it. And you say, well, that's not based on any type of rational thinking at all. That's not based in reality at all. And so what is it? And that one consultant who was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner was on and said, I believe they're insane because they don't recognize reality.
Well, and I think that is the case with many of them. I'm with you. I think that if you're in a position of power, we watched I don't want to call it an evolution, but we watched the changing positions from the left over the years. Remember, in 2008, coming in, Barack Obama could not say, we know what he believed. We knew it then. He couldn't say marriage is between a man, or marriage is between anyone, and, define marriage and everything else. He could only say out loud, marriage is between a man and a woman. Now, the left only went after John McCain because, John McCain is a Republican. They cornered him on it. They didn't corner Barack Obama.
No.
And in part because they knew where he stood. And then he was, remember, grappling. Well, he wasn't grappling. He was no longer worried about losing. And that's where they were. We've talked about how radical the party is right now. If you put everything out on the table to someone who's not a walk, who doesn't pay attention to it every day, of what the left is fighting for right now, I mean literally fighting. There are legal battles that are as radical as it gets on state levels and local levels and the federal level. It is radical. And if you put it out there, a list of them, of what they're trying to do, and had someone who's not a walk, just read through it, it would blow their mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's nuts. And we'll have some examples coming up. And I just realized when I came in, I looked at you and said, man, I've got so many audio cuts. And I realized it's Thursday.
Oh, that's right.
By the time we get to Thursday, I was like
piling up.
Okay, we got to get all these audio cuts in over the next, day and a half. And it's just, it's nuts from the Democrats. So we'll have that and a whole bunch more. And then, Besson testifying yesterday, and oh my gosh, Maxine Waters and some of the screeching Democrats. Oh, how many times would Besson talk? There was one, I got to find the audio where I forgot who the congressperson was, but it was a minute. They were just both talking over each other. You couldn't understand anything. I'm like, wow, this is just awesome.
Yeah.
It really is. But again, they're all taking the side of stupidity.
Yeah.
And insanity.
Yeah.
And we'll get to all it coming up. 866-90 Red Eye.
brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Independents with carrier authority should be mindful that negotiation strength varies as the week progresses. Typically, the highest rates across major segments are paid for loads negotiated on Sundays, and the highest volume of loads for all segments is seen on Mondays. Also, the weekday that tends to be the best for flatbed negotiations, yielding the best rates. Owner-operators tend to have less negotiation strength on Tuesday, which shows the lowest weekday spread between brokers' offered rates and actual paid rates. Broker offers tend to rise by Wednesday as the end of the week is in sight. This day also seems optimal for the 3 o'clock hustle, so-called for its reliance on that afternoon time of day, when brokers are getting nervous, to improve negotiation strength. Stay mindful of this system to maximize your revenue. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, one of the reasons that I hope that Trump gets the whole trade stuff dealt with is, we said this the other day, we said it yesterday, I believe, that I don't see any other weakness that the Democrats could take advantage of. And I when I say weakness, I mean economic weakness, that if the public who wants lower prices doesn't get it. Mm-hmm. Whatever the arguments are, we can talk about the arguments, but the fact is that's the one thing where across the board, doesn't matter what poll it's in, it's low. So if he can get these trade deals worked out, the Democrats don't have anything. They don't have anything for the midterms. Nothing.
Right.
I mean, look at this here. I want to play this. This is, again, Jamel Hill. Remember, she's nuts. Used to be on ESPN, whatever. Absolute racist. But here she is defending women's sports. Defending men playing women's sports and relating it to the civil rights movement in this country. She was talking to Scott Jennings, by the way. Here it is.
The other problem, Scott, is that it's never enough. It's bathrooms today. It's sports today. It's sports tomorrow. It's the military today.
No, it's also sports today, by the way.
Yeah, it is sports today. And
80% of Americans agree, by the way.
Oh, that's fine. And 80%, guess what? The majority sometimes is wrong. That also happens, right? Because the majority used to believe that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was somebody who was a threat, that somebody who was not a good American. The majority of people used to be against civil rights. Were they right? No, they weren't.
Trying to make the same analogy. That's crazy.
While supporting the elimination of civil rights,
right?
Because
for women, exactly.
Because it's, again, we've said it, but it bears repeating in this case. If anyone can belong to a protected class as outlined by the Civil Rights Act, then just simply by saying so, then there are no protected classes. It is the beginning of the end for the Civil Rights Act.
Right.
If they got away with this, there's nothing they can't get away with.
Well, remember, what I don't think, again, this is probably, Jamel Hill probably doesn't even know it because it wasn't widely publicized. You and I caught the article. Was it The Atlantic who did it, December of 2016, when Obama was done? And he did like a closing article, and they asked him the question, well, you're mixed race. Why do you call yourself black? He said, well, because I've come to understand that race is a social construct.
Right.
And remember, it was Obama that really was the one. He was the catalyst, not the catalyst. He was the one that changed Title IX.
Yep.
And said men can be women if men wish to be women,
simply by saying so.
And the whole explanation was, again, because it's a social construct. The gender and sex is a social construct.
Right.
And then he said the exact same thing about race. And it was like, oh, my God. I mean, now they're saying race is a social construct. So that's what I don't even know if anybody's ever gone after somebody like Jamel Hill on that, going, you understand what Obama did.
Right, yeah.
This extremely smart and intelligent man. By the way, America, you were so suckered. If you voted for Obama, you were so suckered. Remember all the crap, all the stuff, remember the Roman Coliseum in Denver?
Yeah,
that day. Oh, Obama we finally have it. The smartest man. He's an idiot.
Right. I didn't want to attend that because I thought lions were going to come out and eat Christians. I mean, it was scary.
Well, apparently
the imagery was bad.
Apparently, the Denver Zoo stopped that because PETA didn't agree with that.
Right.
Humans are tough on a lion's teeth.
No, yeah, that's right.
So
Plus, I have bad taste.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. All right, so yesterday in Congress, the radical transgender movement, they had testimony from women, including Peyton McNabb. Peyton McNabb was the volleyball player. Remember, who got hit with the spike or whatever it was? She got injured by a biological male playing volleyball. She testified yesterday. Here's part of that.
Story changed the world. Today I'm here to share my story. I'm a female athlete from Murphy, North Carolina, who had my love of playing sports taken away from me. Since 2022, following a serious but avoidable injury, I've been speaking across the country, sharing my story and advocating for protections for women and girls' hard-earned rights to equal opportunity, fair play, privacy, and safety. Like many other little girls, I grew up playing sports. As soon as I could walk, my dad enrolled me and my siblings in various sports. I'm incredibly thankful for that because participating in athletics has afforded me so many life lessons and given me valuable skills. In high school, I played volleyball, basketball, and my favorite sport, softball. I was excited about the prospect of playing softball in college, but that day never came. My athletic career was hindered and cut short because I was forced to compete against a male athlete on an opposing high school women's volleyball team on September 1st, 2022. I went into this game knowing that there was a male opponent, but I felt helpless and had no idea what to do. Neither I, my team, nor the administration agreed that we should be playing against a male, but the game went on. Toward the end of the game, the male athlete went up to spike the ball, and it came right at my face, slamming into my head. The force of the ball knocked me down unconscious, while my body lay in a fencing position on the court. A fencing position is how your body reacts to a serious brain injury. Everything was dark to me. The auditorium was absolutely quiet, and my teammates were scared. That was my last day playing volleyball. Medical professionals informed me and my family of the heavy news that I suffered a traumatic brain injury, a brain bleed, and my body was experiencing partial paralysis on my right side. The doctors couldn't confirm how long it would take for my body to recover. It could take months or even years, and they couldn't confirm whether I'd 100% ever be back. While I've learned to navigate my new normal, there are several challenges that I deal with on a daily basis. Severe headaches, balance issues, vision impairment, and as my parents say, I'm just not the same kid. It is completely aggravating because the injury I suffered was 100% avoidable if only my rights as a female athlete had been more important than a man's feelings.
There you have it. And that ending, what she just said at the end, is everything. It's why and how Title IX came about. And the left wants to throw Title IX out.
And then you had, this is audio cut of Congressman Brandon Gill, that same hearing, going back and forth with Damian Leifeld, the chairman of USA Fencing. We know about the woman who, would not fight.
Right, yeah.
And he goes through his past and the things that Mr. Leifeld has actually said on social media. He's apologizing for it now, but listen to how bad this gets. Here we go.
Do you think that parents who don't want their daughters competing against men in women's sports are whiny?
No, sir.
You don't? Why did you write that on social media? I've got a picture here where you posted that. You were allegedly responding to a parent who didn't want their daughter being beaten up by men in sports competitions. You said, I'm not going to pull her from the sport and write a whiny email announcing my departure.
Sir, Mr. Congressman Jack had asked me about that and want to be crystal clear that was an inappropriate message.
Do you think that they're cowardly?
Sir, no, I don't. I don't at all. And in fact,
why did you write that on social media?
I regret it, sir. I deleted it shortly after posting, and I certainly don't feel that way anymore. And given a lot of the messages that we receive, and even conversations that I've had,
do you think
with
that
Ms.
parents
Turner,
who don't want their daughters competing against men in sports should be compared to the Ku Klux Klan?
No, absolutely not. And
why did you
I
do
said
that?
that in the message, sir.
Why did
that
you
was
do
inappropriate.
That was inappropriate?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're right. That isn't inappropriate. I'd like to read what you wrote and what you posted on social media.
Sure.
Responding allegedly to a lady who had these concerns. The only wizard that's going to dig you out of the myopic hole you've put yourself and your family in is one of the, quote, grand wizard variety.
Inappropriate, sir, and I acknowledge that I said it, and I will commit to never making a message like that again.
That was in response to a parent, according to you on social media, who had a problem with this. Was this a real email that you were responding to?
It was a real email, sir. I did not respond to it and hit send.
This was a real email. Did an actual parent write this, or did you write this email?
It was written by an actual person claiming to be a parent. They were not a member of our
Were you that actual person?
No, sir.
You were not that actual person, but you staged this whole interaction.
The response, sir, was not real, and I regret that.
I want to know what they're talking about there. So is the accusation that he set up the email in order to respond to it?
Well, what he's saying is he's claiming the email was real, but the setup and how he responded to it was not. He staged the response. That he actually never responded to the actual email, is what he's saying. He made it look like he did.
Well, I didn't get that out of it because
signaling.
I didn't get that out of it because they have the email.
No, he's saying it's a real email, but he made it look like he actually responded to that email.
Well, they have the response. The congressman had the response.
I know, and he's saying he staged that. The guy's saying, I staged that and I regret it.
But then the congressman wouldn't have it if it was staged, if it wasn't a real email.
No, he had the email sent to him claiming the person claiming to be the parent was real.
But he's got both sides of it. The congressman
Right.
held it up. He's got both sides. He's got the response.
And that's what I'm saying.
Him.
He's saying that the response by him wasn't real. He never actually responded directly to the email.
Then
he posted that
okay.
to make it look like he did. Which would be a weird virtue signaling. And he's claiming he never, and that's what he says he regrets.
Okay,
staging the actual response to the email.
Okay, I'm missing something here.
Yeah.
I don't understand if you're how do you stage something and then somebody is able to
because you posted on social media.
Oh, so he posted his response on social media, but he never sent it back to that person. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right,
he
okay.
never actually responded to the email.
All right. Okay.
He staged the response
right
to make it look like to every one of his followers on social media. Look at me. I'm responding to this. Okay. Parents. If it's actually a parent.
That makes perfect sense now.
Yeah.
And
it's a form of virtue signaling. Yeah. Look at me. I'm a hero.
No, but I didn't realize okay, he staged it, but then he took and however he copied it and he put it on social media saying, here's how we responded to this person.
Right.
And he never really did it. Okay.
Right. So he could just look like a
my
hero.
point was but it appeared on social media. Oh, the stage appeared on social media.
It was fake.
But we don't know whether that's true or not from him.
Well,
it's
what he's saying. We don't know if it's true.
Well, look, I don't believe him. You don't sit there as an adult man have an opinion that a woman is whiny, forget about whether it's staged or not, but you're whiny if you're going up against men, and then you relate women who complain about men playing sports to the Ku Klux Klan, you have those kind of opinions, you don't change those overnight.
No.
It's the same thing we've said with anti-Semitism. You're not going to change it.
Nope.
You're not going to change. These people are going to hold on to those beliefs.
Well, you went out of your way, admittedly, to stage this response.
Yeah.
If you go that far to do it, this is what you actually believe, and I don't believe you regret a thing about it.
Yeah, I don't.
You're saying you regret it.
Yeah, I don't buy it. Here's Nancy Mace talking to him also. Here we go.
Mr. Layfelt, will you face Ms. Stephanie Turner today? Will you look her in the eyes? Will you apologize to her for the way that she was treated by USA Fencing, standing up for women and girls, women's rights, standing her ground as a woman who only wanted to fence with other women? Will you apologize to her today?
Congresswoman Mace, Ms. Turner was given a black card under our rules.
Will you apologize for the way she was treated? So that's a no.
So,
you won't do it.
Congresswoman, if I could respond to one thing.
You know what's unbecoming of a leader? You said this just in your testimony just like 5 minutes ago.
Yes, ma'am.
That you've said several things that are just disgusting and unbecoming of a leader, to use your words. It's unbecoming of a leader today to acknowledge what has happened to this young woman. You just look at her face and look what she has been through. The courage it took her to stand up for her rights as a woman and other women in other sports all across the country. And you can't even as a man look her in the eye and apologize for what happened to her. And as my colleague, Congressman Crane, said, real men protect women. You're not one.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
And again, it's far from over for them. You know, this is the great concern about Democrats getting power again. Because the rebound on this is going to be huge if they gain power again. When they gain power again. And when I say when, because I have great confidence in the GOP to mess things up, to not get the job done, to not complete the task. So when the Republicans screw it up and the Democrats come back to power, there's going to be a rebound on these issues, and they're going to go further than they've ever gone. That's the way it always works. And that kind of political rebound here is extremely radical, extremely dangerous, and means zero good things. And it doesn't matter. You heard Jamal Hill. You've heard Democrats. They don't care. They think, again, she said it. 80% are wrong on these issues, especially when it comes to women's sports. You're also battling the parents, and you won't win that. I am confident of that. But it requires that motivation to still be there, and it requires people to be reminded of where the left is and what they want to do next. They are full-on radicals, and they're just now getting started. We've only scratched the surface as to how far they will go.
Yeah, there's not one single thing. Not one single thing that they've changed on.
No. They are hell-bent on, again, implementing policy that is going to be over-the-top insane. They want to control how you talk. They want to open the border again. They want criminals, gang members, back in the U.S.
Yeah,
They're fighting for these things. They want obscene material in front of young eyes. In fact, you don't have a place in the classroom, parents, according to the left. You have no business in your kids' classrooms, and now you have no business in the surgery, in the operating room, if your child decides they want to change genders by mutilating their genitals.
And they're driving James Carville nuts. The Democrats, he had a comment yesterday which was just hilarious. And coming up on the top of the hour, we will get to some of the responses from Democrats and some of the Democrat witnesses. Because it's still, Eric, it's the same insanity.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think I'm, the only good thing is you see the polling on this, and the vast majority of the American public rejects it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why we have stated, if Trump gets the whole trade thing squared away here soon,
yep,
the Democrats have nothing.
They have nothing.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. We've got more audio cuts coming up from the radical transgender movement hearings that were held yesterday. Jasmine Crockett, of course, just off the rails. So we'll get to her. Also, did you see the Jonathan Turley and Goldman going back and forth?
Yeah.
Goldman not allowing him to speak.
Yeah.
Saying Jonathan Turley has no credibility.
Right.
Democrats now, the Democrats in the media now are starting to coming out and trying to frame Turley as this right winger.
Yeah. A radical.
Really hilarious.
Yeah, a radical right winger, yeah.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here. We've made it to the Thursday show.
Happy Thursday.
I can't believe it's May.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is we've actually had some pretty cool weather here the last couple of days for us.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
Been wonderful. And no rain in the forecast. We've had quite a bit of rain this spring. So
yeah, we don't have any in the forecast. Maybe the end of next week.
And here we are, just two old men talking about the weather.
Coming up, drying paint and grass growing.
All right, more audio. All right.
Yeah. All right.
We've been playing the congressional hearings on the radical transgender movement. And now it's time to play a Republican here asking a witness a question, and then listening to some of the Democrats and what they had to say, okay? Because we need to keep the insanity going. But this is Representative Lisa McCain asking the Democratic witness about Peyton McNabb, who was there, the volleyball player, and is it safe competing against biological males, and actually getting to the point of saying, let's look at the science. Are males and females the same? Are they built the same? Obviously, we know they're not.
Yeah.
But this is just greatness. Here we go.
So let's follow the science for a moment. Not opinions, but science. So, Ms. Graves, what is the average difference in skeletal muscle between biological men and biological women?
So I'm definitely not a scientist, but I can tell you about the studies that have been done looking at transgender athletes, cisgender athletes.
It's a great answer to a question I didn't ask, so perhaps I can help you.
So the answer, I think where you're trying to go is there an inherent
Is there a biological difference between men and women?
In all contexts, and the answer is no.
Okay,
right now.
Okay,
the answer is no.
Okay, let me educate you.
And the reason that I can
reclaiming
tell you
my
that
time.
The answer is no is because UCLA has studied this. They did a study of
the gentlewoman's reclaimed her time. Ms. McLean's recognized.
So I'll educate you. I'll tell you, men have 30 to 40% more skeletal muscle than biological women. That's not right. That's not wrong. That just is what it is. I was going to ask you what is the difference in upper body strength, but I don't think you know that either. So I'll answer that question for you as well. Biological men exhibit 20 to 50% greater upper body strength, and 25 to 30% lower body strength than biological women. That's just the science. Ms. Graves, you stated your organization's mission is to ensure safety and opportunity for all girls. Was Peyton McNabb safe on September 1st of 2022?
It sounds like she definitely wasn't. And
Thank
what
you.
happened to her was tragic. I would argue, though, that the answer is to ensure that people can't spike volleyballs into people's heads. That seems unsafe.
Thank you for your answer, Ms. Graves. So I will reclaim my time on that. So here's the inherent problem. If I would say I'm a 6'2" blonde supermodel, you agree with that statement? I know my husband does, but does that make it true?
I'm not sure he'll tell you because you're sitting down, but I'm assuming you're not blonde.
Look like a 6'2" blonde supermodel?
No.
Okay. But I identify as one. Okay? Just because I identify as one doesn't make it true, but let's go ahead and say for a moment it's true. The issue that I have for the young girls is you can live in your reality. You can live in your reality. But when your reality intrudes on my safety and puts another person at harm or in harm's way, that's when I have a problem with it. When you want to live in your distorted reality, you can do that. But that doesn't mean everybody else has to do that either. Because I will ask you one other question. Can a 43-year-old man identify as a 13-year-old boy? Ms. Graves?
Can a
43-year-old man live in his reality of identifying as a 13-year-old boy?
So this question makes me understand that you...
No, this question is a question that you need to answer that you refuse. If we're going to be who we want to be, can a 43-year-old man identify as a 13-year-old boy?
The witness can answer, but the gentlelady's time's expired.
So here's the thing. It is absolutely...
It's a yes or no.
So I'm hoping that some people are watching, and so that's why I'm trying to provide some...
The gentlelady's time's expired. This is a yes or no question.
Okay. I would have loved to give a fuller answer. Here is my answer to you. The answer is no, that an adult can't be a child.
Why they identify as
one? Okay. Thank you very much.
That's where.
Wah, wah, wah.
Now, that's not the funniest part. We're gonna bring you the funniest part of it is that was Fatima Goss Graves. She is the president and chief executive officer of the National Women's Law Center.
Fighting for men all day long.
Yes,
it's what we do.
The National Women's Law Center, fighting for men every day.
In fact, looking to change laws that protect women.
I know.
Ironically.
Just absolutely you and I said it a long, long time ago. We said it will destroy the feminist movement in this country. We said that probably a decade ago.
Yeah.
And people are like, what are you guys? You're just, come on. And we don't like to make predictions, but this was an easy one to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we knew it was over when Gloria Steinem came out and said, I fully support the transgender movement. We went, wow.
It's over. It's done.
But to me, my perverted sense of awe, there's the non-perverted sense of awe. When you see somebody do something great, it's like, wow, that's really incredible. Wow, I'm in awe of that, particular person. Or if a 6'2" blonde model came in front of me, I might be in awe also. By the way, can I identify as a 40-year-old?
No.
6'2" male? So maybe that 6'2" blonde model that the representative talking about might have an interest in me. I can't.
No.
Okay, just
no.
I'd like that. That'd be interesting if it could happen. But what the perverted sense of awe comes in the fact that, I mean, it's quite impressive what the radical transgender movement did. It's impressive in a bad way. But they completely defeated liberal feminism, and men did it. Men destroyed liberal feminism. Men, and they went along with it. Men came along and said, we want to be a woman, and the women just crumbled. Absolutely. Whatever you want, sir. Whatever you want, sir. Yes, you are the dominant one. We are going to follow you because the man says so. That's modern feminism today. The man says so. We will submit to your will. I mean, that's just pure greatness, and in a perverted sense. In a totally
protecting men's rights.
Yes.
It's what women's lib is all about.
Oh my gosh. And that and now you've seen it a couple of times now at the hearing, Jamel Hill trying to compare it to the civil rights movement, trying to compare women who wish to play their own sports as being members of the KKK.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a woman, think about this. Now, if you're a woman and you say, well, I don't think men should play my sport. I don't think they should. This is ridiculous. Why, you KKK member? That's a part of it. You're a white supremacist.
No, they're saying you're filled with hate.
Yeah,
You're filled with hate as they look to destroy Title IX, part of the Civil Rights Act.
I'm glad you said that, because now I can play this audio cut from Representative Melanie Stansbury. What a nut job she is. What was this hearing about? This hearing is about hate. Here we go.
I want to make clear that this hearing is actually not about oversight or DOJ, but about spreading hate and using trans lives to distract from the real issues that Americans are facing, from attacks on our economy to attacks on our democracy.
Okay, because see, that's where they moved to something else.
Right.
They can't, she couldn't confront it, so she moved to something else, that this is a distraction from it. And the fact is, it's not.
Well, she creates a distraction.
Well, they created the initial distraction.
Yeah.
The initial distraction was created by Obama when he went to change Title IX.
Right.
I love it when the Democrats do something that is completely lunatic. It's in the lunatic fringe. By the way, I saw Tom Cochran's on a tour with Burton Cummings. So we can talk lunatic fringe.
Yeah.
He was the lead singer of Red Rider. But the lunatic fringe of Obama came out and said, yep, I think that race is a social construct, and I think that also sex is a social construct.
Yeah.
Right. What a nut job he was to do that. Democrats and the feminists all fell behind him. He's a genius. It's Obama. It's Obama. Kneel. He's godlike. He rises above everybody else, which, by the way, was said by Evan Thomas.
Yeah.
We're not making that stuff up.
He hovers.
And they all fall in line. They all fall in line with it. They create the distraction. When you try to defend women, then you're creating the distraction.
Yeah.
No, you guys started it. Excuse me. You guys, gals, she, he, me,
they,
do, re, mi. I mean, it's all ridiculous. It's stupid. It's just so insane. Now, since we're talking about insane, how about one more?
All right.
So if I'm talking about insane and my representative, who are we talking about?
Jasmine Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett. Here we go. All right. Now, she asked the witness Graves these questions. Here we go.
All right.
So, Miss Goss Graves, I want to play a game. It's called Trump or Trans. You ready?
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to tell me whether or not it is Trump or trans people that are responsible. You understand?
Got it.
Okay, very good. The first one, gutted medical research.
And that's where they go. They
Yeah.
change the topic.
Right.
They change the topic.
Mm-hmm. As if
they
their
can't-
party is still the
Right.
party of science.
Right.
And they want to, she wants to talk about medical research. Again, yeah, it's a distraction.
Yeah. They keep, again, they cannot discuss the issues. That's why I said yesterday, I just sat there again in this perverted sense of awe going, my God, these people are absolutely crazy.
No, they are. They really are. But it's where you go when you have nothing. You have to turn. That was a complete right turn right there. You got to go somewhere else. You got to talk about something else, anything else, except the issue at hand. They can't talk the issues.
No, they can't.
They can't. If they even start to engage in the issues, the only thing they do is accuse anybody asking them a question of bigotry and hatred.
Yeah.
That's so old.
While they're knee deep, shoulder deep in misogyny, the hatred of women.
Mm-hmm.
Remember what happened. Remember in the Ivy League. Remember Riley Gaines. Remember the threats, the intimidation, the bullying. We're going to destroy your life. And every single Democrat in the House, I think last time it was only 2 didn't, but before, every single one did. At that time, when they voted for that, was the equity bill, whatever, every single one voted in favor of men competing against women. And they never said a word about the intimidation, the threats, the bullying of these women in sports.
Yeah.
These people are nuts. Any Democrat, you know that. If you're a regular Democrat out there, you know the stuff we're talking about. Your party is nuts. They're completely nuts. And
Elon Musk wants to save the taxpayer money. He wants to make cuts on waste and fraud. They're burning EVs.
Yeah.
Riley Gaines shows up to North Texas. There's a university about 30 minutes north of our studios, and she was speaking there. And one of the protesters outside was shouting to somebody else that was walking in, I know where you live.
Yep. Yeah. It's completely.
Violence is the answer to them. Because they can't win this.
Oh, good. We got the Columbia stuff coming up. Oh, by the way, James Carville, too.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
Talking about the Democrats yesterday was just great. And it was Ilhan Omar, about the biggest threat is white men.
Yeah.
And the Babylon Bee. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
The woman who is completely and totally fearful of all white men moves from Africa to Minnesota. Or it was, I know what it was, the woman who believes that white men are the most dangerous thing moves from Africa to Minnesota. That's what it's like.
Yeah. Yeah, and that sums it up right there.
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Like we said, yesterday was a microcosm of everything that's wrong with the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Everything that's wrong with it. And everything that lost them the election in 2024. And I think James Carville's just had enough of it. Here he is talking about Ilhan Omar for attacking white men. Wow, this is great. Here we go.
Ilhan Omar says that white men are responsible for most of the deaths in the United States. So let me get this straight. 69% of the people, I'm stuck on that number, I don't know, but 69% of the people going to vote are white. Of that, 48.5 are males. So, I don't know, my rough math is 33%. Let's go out and piss off 33% of the people that vote, and that's a smart strategy. And the people that agree with her. There are people that actually agree with her. And I think these, honestly, I think these people are more trouble than they're worth.
But you could have said, hold on.
Because if you, okay, you have to put it into perspective, the context here. Carville is a strategist.
Mm-hmm.
He's crunching the numbers. And by the numbers, he's saying this is not a winning strategy. You know, you just kind of have to sit back and remind yourself, this is somebody who's been in the strategy game for a long time, James Carville. And things you have to do, they don't always get it right, but they know what you have to do for each demographic, what moves you have to make, what you shouldn't do. But the left doesn't care about any of that. That's the thing. They really don't care about strategy. They really don't. They're trying to win on the big picture of imagery, and I don't think it's working at all for them. Wow.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. As we always say, the show's 5 hours long, and people can't listen at times to the entire show. We have people that go to sleep with us, which is interesting, and people that wake up to us.
That's true.
And so a lot of people can't catch the entire show, but you can, because after the show is over, it becomes our podcast, and you can listen during the day.
Right.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Let me just I want to take a deep breath here. I mean, all the audio cuts we've had, I mean, it's been a hilarious but exhausting first half of the show.
Nate Bargatze, the comedian, has this bit that he did in most recent stand-up special. He says, he goes, I like books, but there's so many words. There should be some blank pages every once in a while to give you a rest and get caught up. So in his new book, Big Dumb Eyes, he actually put blank pages in it.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did.
He
it's
said
off of
something yesterday that was about politics. I did.
Yeah, I don't know.
I saw it yesterday. Did I save it?
Yeah, it'd be kind of rare for him.
Yeah, I don't know if I saved it or not. I've got so many audio cuts here.
Yeah, it's
as I just let you know, as I go through everything here, there is so much from the right on the whole Disney thing, saying, when the whole thing came out of Disney last time, you had ESPN reporters go on the air and say it was wrong.
Yeah, right.
What the state of Florida and DeSantis were doing. It's like nothing yesterday on Disney's announcement.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
From Disney or ESPN employees.
Right.
Nothing.
Right. No, something, in fact, that other companies that have been, led by liberals or had some very outspoken liberals in the companies You have seen it, whether it was, I don't know, the bathroom bills in different states or anything else. They wanted to go to war with those states. But they would not stop doing business in parts of the world that banned homosexuality altogether.
Yeah. Not just banned it, will put you in prison.
Right.
With a punishment that could reach, because there's no cap on the punishment in the United Arab Emirates, so you can be executed for being gay.
Yeah.
Disney says, we're going to build over there.
Right. The money is more important.
This is a question that I have to ask. Did Disney do it when they went after DeSantis and were intellectually dishonest about what DeSantis was trying to do? I mean, they helped perpetuate that same lie that it was about don't say gay.
Right.
And when you actually broke it down and you asked the question about what the law was and what it did, the vast majority of Floridians, irrespective of demographic, their skin color, whatever, agreed with it. Because it wasn't about don't say gay. Nothing to do with that.
Right.
But it's a continuing line. It's the same thing that Republicans just want to cut Medicaid to people who legitimately should get Medicaid, and everybody knows where they're heading. They're going after the able-bodied males is what they're going after. Saying if you're an able-bodied male and you can work and you're just dropping out of the workforce, you shouldn't be getting any type of benefits. You need to go back to work.
Yeah.
Unemployment exists if you're out for a period of time.
Right.
But this is past unemployment. These people have dropped out. In fact, what's his name? I do have the audio of him. Oh, can't think of the work guy.
Mike Rowe.
Yeah, Mike Rowe. Thank you. The work guy.
That's all you got to say.
Mike Rowe.
Yeah.
He was talking about that yesterday. We had an interesting conversation on it yesterday also. Just saying, wow, as we talked about, the work ethic and just in general, the whole concept, for example, of college loans. I shouldn't have to pay it. And that was nobody ever debated that when I was growing up.
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
In fact, if you couldn't pay your debts, you felt shame.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Because you understood what you were doing. Somebody was saying, okay, you can have my property, interest rates, the payment on it. But you got to pay back the principal, too.
And now the left has created a victim in people who owe money.
When you sign a contract, there was an incredible obligation to fulfill your side of it. It wasn't, I signed a contract and they're not fulfilling their side. Yeah, but you're not doing yours. Well, I shouldn't have to. You should take care of what I need.
Right.
And it's like, where the hell did that come from?
Right.
So, yeah. All right, more audio. You want some good stuff?
All right, what do you got?
Let me get it here. Here it is. This is the hearing that was held yesterday. Jonathan Turley was one of the witnesses. And it was a House Judiciary Committee hearing on the growth of federal offenses and regulatory overreach. All right? He was brought in for that. That, the tremendous growth on the number that, the one number was thrown out I saw yesterday. There's over 5,000 new federal crimes. And it's like, wow. And then they got into the regulatory overreach of the federal government. And so Turley was one of the witnesses. So Dan Goldman, Representative Goldman, decides not to cover that, but just look at, well, this is what Trump did. Do you think he should be impeached and convicted? He goes, well, this isn't why I'm here. I'm here to talk about this. And I'm not taking anybody's word. You're setting down the parameters of something, which I don't know whether they're accurate or not. And so I don't know. But I do believe any type of suspected corruption of a politician you should look into. Well, Goldman didn't want to hear any of that when he would say that. He goes, I reclaim my time. But Goldman himself was changing the topic. And so we get to the point further into it where, Jonathan Turley's trying to speak and Goldman won't let him. And Andy Biggs said, you got to let him finish. Your time's done. Let him finish. Let him answer the question. And I like that the Republican heads are doing that. That if they ask you a question, but then it's sort of the bizarro filibuster that they'll ask you a question, you just start answering it. I reclaim my time, I reclaim my time, I reclaim my time, but I haven't even gotten through 3 words. It doesn't matter. And then they go, look, no, Dan Goldman, can't reclaim your time. Your time is over. We'll let the witness respond to your question. And this is the point where you're at here. And this is Jonathan Turley now, the very offensive Jonathan Turley.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Congressman, you say that we have to preserve our credibility. I think you would agree.
Can you answer the question, sir?
He's trying to answer the question. Your time has expired. I will allow the gentleman to answer the question.
Thanks. In the interest of credibility cited by the member, I'm not going to rely on the facts that you just gave me for the first time to render a judgment on it. I'm not opposed to investigations of alleged corruption. That was the point of the previous hearing. But the way to establish credibility is not, as you did, sir, just engage in personality attacks and personal innuendos. I'm happy to speak with you and to work with you about anything dealing with corruption in this building. I've been writing about that for 3 decades. I've been called as a witness for both the Democrats and Republicans dealing with that.
Well,
but the way to presume...
I've only seen you as a witness.
Your time has expired, sir. Your time has expired.
I'm happy to yield back.
Did you finish your question?
Only that the way that we can actually regain...
I thought my time has expired.
Your time has expired. I said your time expired. He gets an opportunity to finish answering the question.
I'd like to reclaim my time.
No, you have no additional time. You are out of order.
He's answering
Be quiet.
my question.
You are out of order.
I would like to reclaim my time.
No. He's answering the question because you personally attacked him. I've said he can answer the question. I give that courtesy.
How did I personally attack him, Mr. Chairman?
You attacked his credibility. We're not going to get into we're not getting into this right now. What we're going to get...
He's a witness. His credibility matters, sir.
You are out of order. You are out of order. You're done. You can't say anything else right now. You may finish answering your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that the one lesson from this exchange is that it's possible that we can restore credibility in this institution if we can just get beyond the personal attacks.
There were no personal attacks, Mr. Turley. You are a witness.
Done.
Your credibility matters.
You, sir, you have lost your credibility with me. I gave that courtesy to everyone on this bench.
Mr. Chairman.
You ask a question. If they wanted to continue to answer beyond the time limit, I said, time's expired, you may answer the question. That's my routine. That's what I did today. You challenged him, asked him a question. You wanted an answer. Your time has expired. He is answering the question.
Mr. Chairman,
you don't like his answer. Because you don't like his answer, you want to shut him up. What's your inquiry?
My inquiry is when you offered when my time was up at 00 for him to answer the question, he went and answered the question. You then gavelled and said my time was up.
That's not a parliamentary inquiry.
You gavelled and
that's not a parliamentary inquiry.
I would like to know when
that's not a parliamentary inquiry.
My time is up and when he gets to continue answering.
That is not a parliamentary inquiry. Your parliamentarian is about to tell you that's not a parliamentary inquiry.
He actually disagrees. He thinks it is a parliamentary inquiry.
That's not a parliamentary inquiry.
Why? I'm asking for the process question, the process question as to when my time is up, which you allowed him to answer the question. You then gavelled and said my time is expired, and then you then offered him to answer the question again, which he already had done.
No, sir. Let us. If we were to watch,
you did it based on accusations that I was personally attacking him, which I was not.
Excuse me. Not only are you out of order, you're being incredibly rude. Here's the deal. I gave everybody the same courtesy. You didn't like where he was going. You began interrupting again, but your time was expired. He was trying to answer the question. You didn't like the answer.
That is false. I'm happy to have this answer.
No, that's what happened.
I didn't like the accusation that
here.
I was personally attacking him. His credibility.
I didn't say that till the third round when you interrupted.
His
and you continued to interrupt.
There you go. That's Goldman yesterday, and by the way, it's what Andy Biggs said is the way that it happened.
Yeah, right.
It's exactly the way it happened. Mm-hmm. He said, "Let him answer the question." He was answering the question, and then Goldman interrupted,
Mm-hmm.
and then he hit the gavel. He goes, "Okay, you can finish your question."
Right.
And Goldman's saying, "Well, no." Basically he's trying to make the case that once I interrupted, then he can't finish the question.
He's done answering.
I mean, it's just got to the point of just bizarro. But what Goldman did was on the Hunter Biden stuff. He said, "You lost your credibility with the Hunter Biden stuff.
Yeah,
you have no credibility here because of the Hunter Biden," and didn't go into specifics.
Mm-hmm.
And he just, that's where it got down to. But if there's anybody who's credible on the law, it's Turley.
Oh, by far.
Because you don't hear Turley ever do attacks. He simply explains this is the way the law is written.
Right. Right.
And they hate that because it's effective. And in the past, he's destroyed Goldman. And Goldman's ticked off about it.
Yeah, right.
Remember, Goldman came out of some of those hearings, and it was like, you need to shut up.
He was helping the right more than he was helping himself.
Yeah. You're getting to be really bad at this. You're helping the Republicans more than the Democrats. But everything yesterday from the Democrats was screaming and yelling. Everything.
Yeah.
And you look at
Be
it.
disruptive and keep it going. You just heard it. That exchange was to keep it going and make it about the disruption and not about Turley's answer.
Yep. Trying to deflect.
Yep.
God, this is so easy. And they think they're winning on it.
They do.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
In Tri-Night Radio, he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Coming up following the top of the hour, we'll get to a bunch of stuff. Did you see the report on the floating pier mission in Gaza?
Yeah.
62 soldiers injured in that. What a debacle that was.
Yeah.
We were absolutely livid when that whole thing was going on during the Biden administration. A report came out on that yesterday. We'll have that coming up following the top of the hour. What happened at Columbia last night? The chaos in one of the buildings. The students are studying the library. I think it was studying, and ICE was watching it.
Yep.
ICE was aware of it. Made sure that people knew they were aware with it, and made sure that everybody in the building was arrested.
Right.
From what I hear. Yeah, we'll get to that coming up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, I found the article I was telling you about Nate Bargatze.
Oh, okay. All right. What is it?
Comedian Nate Bargatze accused Disney of abandoning its audience as he talked about why he's building a family-friendly media empire to rival the entertainment company in a new interview with Esquire magazine out on Monday. The popular stand-up comic, known for his clean comedy routines, is at the top of his game, having sold more than 1 million tickets to his shows.
He was the top stand-up comic of last year. Yeah.
That's more than Seinfeld, Dave Chappelle, and what is it? Sebastian, is it
Maniscalco.
Maniscalco?
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen him on YouTube. He's actually pretty funny.
He's very funny.
He's actually pretty funny, according to Esquire. Yeah.
Yeah. He's very funny. Very funny.
Bargatze, though, this is from Fox News, has his sights set beyond stand-up. He told Esquire about launching his own family-friendly production company in 2023 and plans to quit touring in a few years to focus on building his own media empire. Bargatze said he was inspired by other comedians like Seinfeld and Adam Sandler, as well as Walt Disney. He praised Disney's founder for cherishing his brand and audience, but believes the company's current leadership does not care about its audience or about upholding its original values that made it successful. Now Disney is run by a guy that's just a businessman, Bargatze says, referring to Disney CEO Bob Iger. I would disagree with him. I don't think Iger is necessarily running Disney like a business.
No.
If you ran it like a business, you wouldn't have made the dumb decisions that they've made.
You would understand where the money actually comes from and who you're taking on. It's not the Republican Party in your political battles. It's the parents.
I actually think Walt Disney was a great business person because he knew exactly what to do to entertain families.
Right.
And he created that out of nothing.
Right.
I'm old enough to remember.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old enough to remember when they started the first shovelful for Disney World in Florida.
Yeah.
And how exciting that was.
Yeah.
You see, there was I think it was on X, I think it became a news story. A guy with his family went to Disney for a day and ended up costing him $1,500.
Yeah. It's expensive.
Like, whoa, wow. $1,500, really?
Yeah.
And that wasn't hotel. That was just at the park. Wasn't hotel, wasn't plane flight, nothing. Wasn't gasoline for the car. It was just what it cost to get into Disney and then do everything they wanted to do during the day. $1,500 for a family of four.
Yeah.
What the hell does Disney think they are? The NFL?
Right. Exactly.
The NBA?
That they're going to be selling park licenses like the Cowboys sell seat licenses. Yeah, it's and
for Iger allowing this to happen, to let insane politics be your judge means he is not a good business person.
Well,
and I'm saying this as somebody who is collecting a pension from
it's exactly. But again, it's you have to know who you're taking on, and if you're too blind to see that, then you shouldn't be running the company. It's when Nate Bargatze's talked about it on his podcast about he talked about Adam Sandler and the influences of, if you think about building media companies, because Sandler makes movies. He just doesn't just star in them. I think Rob Schneider was talking to him on a plane. He said, I was talking to Adam about, this, and all of a sudden he goes, yeah, well, we should make that. And then he just made the movie. And it's like, that's but it's also about understanding, because Nate has been a clean comic for most of his career. I think there are a couple of light, maybe primetime TV swear words that he's used in the past, but he's a clean comic and understands that people want to, because you can take your kids, you can watch it with your parents, you understand what the entertainment is about. You want everybody in the family to enjoy it. It has to be funny, right? Or it has to be fun. But those are the things that's missing from Hollywood that Hollywood doesn't get. It doesn't necessarily have to be clean coming from Hollywood, but it has to know its audience. And Nate Bargatze knows his audience, and he works with other clean comics. You know, one of the things that happens when you're on the road as a comic, you don't at first get to decide who else is on that stage that night,
With
the other
you,
comics.
right.
Well, Nate Bargatze's now filling big places. And, of course, he brings his own openers with them, and they all work clean. And he's produced a lot of clean comedy on YouTube, Nate Land Productions. You know, if you want, that's the thing, too. You get on a Netflix, you get on anywhere you can stream comedy. And there's very little clean stuff that's out there. Gaffigan is clean for the most part. I mean, there's a couple of words that he's dropped in the past, but not big. But other comics are just flat out, not clean. Again, nothing against that if it's funny and that's what you want to watch and you know what you're watching. Kevin Hart, I think, is very funny. But if you're looking for clean comics, you really have to go out of your way.
I'm laughing here because I was just thinking Jeff Foxworthy does innuendo.
Oh, yeah.
But he there's something about him where he can get away with anything where people aren't going to go, no, he works clean.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Jeff innuendo kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Or it's Jeff innuendo
if you
kind
talk
of stuff.
like this, you can say anything.
And he's just viewed as, because he's one of the, I can still remember the first time I heard my buddy Jeff. I remember going down the road. He goes, "You got to hear this guy," and it was the redneck stuff. It had to be in the mid '90s.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I instantly became a fan of him. But as funny as he was, you view him as harmless,
right?
Because it's Jeff Foxworthy.
Right.
He just has that kind of style, which is very rare for harmless and stand-up comedy to be a very attractive thing.
Right.
Especially for me, when I think of, really, I got the first time I really got into comedy. I mean, you'd see it on TV, for example. I remember Bob Hope, and I went,
Yeah.
But I remember Bill Cosby, the first time I saw Bill Cosby on some TV show.
Right.
He was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I understood exactly what he was doing as a child. And it was a bit where he talked about being on the track team. And, there was just him and a couple other, the team was mostly white, and there was just a couple of black kids on there and, on the track team. And when they pull into a restaurant, he was so lucky because we were so lucky because we got to eat in the kitchen. Everybody else had to eat out with everybody else.
Yeah,
we got
I remember
to eat
that
in
bit.
the kitchen.
Yeah, I remember that bit. Yeah.
And it was hilarious because of the innocence. But I, as a child, and I'm going to guess that was the late 60s. And so I was probably 12 or 13 when I saw it. You knew exactly what he was doing.
Oh,
and you went, whoa.
Yeah.
And then the next thing that really impacted me was Carlin, was Class Clown.
Yeah.
Somebody, and I must have been maybe a sophomore or junior in high school. And I just went, oh, is this really dirty? Or
Yeah, right.
And
I remember listening to Richard Pryor on vinyl, Carlin, Steve Martin, Cheech and Chong. I mean, there were things.
Well, yeah, Cheech and Chong,
for Cheech and Chong, it was really skits. They were audio skits, that they would put together, which were very funny. But, the thing is that I think a lot of people look for, and is there a place for it, and is it coming from a genuine place when that person is creating it? Whoever the creator is, in this case, Nate Bargatze, we can throw in Dusty Slay, who was on his podcast, Brian Bates, Aaron Weber, these comedians who work clean, and they have a market. There is a demand, and there's no greater example right now than Nate Bargatze being the top comedian of the year, selling over 1 million tickets. As you mentioned earlier, that's because people want to know it's genuine. It's got to be funny. You know, I've said Dusty Slaves on his podcast and is a great comedian, also works clean. It's Dusty is the real deal. You know, the guy who does Larry the Cable Guy, that was a character, Larry the Cable Guy, that he created. Dusty Slay is the real deal. He's actually not a character. That's who he is, which makes it even better because you realize, no, this is his experience that he's sharing, and it has to come from a genuine place. Not that all comedy has to be clean. Seinfeld's clean for the most part. Brian Regan, Gaffigan, you know, not that all comedy has to be clean.
Well,
but it's for people who want to watch it, you know, and really insist on not watching any cursing whatsoever. There, you know, it's more and more, I think, growing.
Yeah, I have no problem. You know, if it's just thrown in for the sake of throwing it in, and it's just rude and crude, that I'm not into that.
Right.
When I understood, I mean, I remember Carlin shocked the hell out of me, but it was funny.
Yeah.
Because you just didn't hear that. Class Clown would have been, what, 72?
Yeah.
So we're talking over a half century ago that came in. And I do think that's where he did Class Clown had the seven words you can't say on,
Yeah.
That was shocking. Not that I didn't know the words, you just couldn't believe.
Well, the way he laid it out.
The way he
delivered it.
Right, but then I even understood back then. I understood the reason he was doing it was not to be dirty.
Right.
It was to make a point that these are words or whatever. But I want to make sure we get back to I want to make sure I cover this with Bargatze from a strictly business model.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he wants to have a media company because he looks at Disney and says they don't care about the audience,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and he believes he does have the business model because if you're going to do right now, there's a ton of parents out there going, God, Disney is like the only choice. What else is out there?
Right.
But if you come in and you say, we are the conservative, you're going to get a certain amount of audience. But with the Bargatze, you look at it and you go, he's apolitical.
It really is.
His imagery is apolitical.
It's all about fun.
But he cares about, and if you approach it from the marketing as a business model, I care about making things entertaining for kids that parents will love, whatever, and you keep the politics. You don't market it as a political thing, but I just want to do the right thing for kids here, and I think Disney went off the deep end.
Right.
It's
what we said about Starbucks. You know, when Starbucks started, you know, I mean, can you imagine? Let's write on the cup, let's talk race. Hey, I got an idea. Every barista will start a potential fight with every customer. Ready?
Why?
Go.
Why is that as funny? I've heard you've said that and I've said that a million times
and it's funny
since it's happened. And it's
because
just as funny.
So bizarre. Let's start a fight right there. No, you mean if somebody comes up and starts an argument? No, we're going to start it.
We're going to start the discussion on race.
What? Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Why don't you write, your religion is stupid on the cup? Go from there.
Let's talk the best religion at Starbucks.
And then don't hand it to them. Throw it at them. You know? I mean, it's just, it's... How did it become that?
And the best point, they probably held a meeting to discuss it.
No, it was
and nobody
serious
objected to
That's it. I've got an idea. What? On the cup, we'll write, let's talk race. Hey, don't ever say that out loud again. No, I'm serious. Don't tell anybody else this idea. They went with it. That's the one they went with.
That's your idea? You work here? You're fired.
Let's take the most controversial subject and write it on the cup as we're handing it to the customer, usually first thing in the morning.
When they're headed to the place that they do not want to go to.
They don't want to go to. And keep in mind, this is before they've had their coffee. What? What are you doing? and then all that. Oh, we don't understand what's going on right now with the economy and what is it affecting earnings. I got it. I know what's going on. I can tell you. Anybody want to ask me? I can tell you. Wow, it's not that hard.
It's funny every time.
Wow, it's just and by the way, for someone who's been a longtime fan of Nate Bargatze, watching his rise is great. But watching that really take hold and gain more momentum, because this production company, they're doing things. They're making TV shows. They got a movie thing going. He's knee deep in it, and he's on a mission, and good for him.
Good for him. 866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. At a roadside inspection, inspectors may ask to see supporting documents. A supporting document is a document generated or received by a motor carrier in the normal course of business that can be used by law enforcement to verify a driver's logs. These documents can include bills of lading, itineraries, schedules, or equivalent documents that indicate the origin and destination of each trip. They can also include dispatch or trip records, expense receipts related to on-duty/not driving periods, including receipts for meals, lodging, and fuel, electronic mobile communication transmitted through a fleet management system, and payroll records, settlement sheets, or equivalent documents that indicate payment to a driver. Drivers using paper logs must also keep toll receipts. Supporting documents must contain the driver's name, carrier-assigned identification number or vehicle unit number that can be linked to the driver, the date, the name of the nearest city, town, or village, and the time. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, a couple of Columbia University safety officers hurt yesterday, according to this headline, as scores of pro-Palestinian protesters force their way into the library. Apparently, Columbia police arrested everybody that was in the building. So we'll get to that. We'll hear from Chip Roy as the Republicans talk about Medicaid. Talk about cutting.
Right.
Talk about what was the other thing I was trying to think of? It just jumped out of my mind there.
Salt tax.
The salt tax. Taxes on overtime. Looks like there's going to be limitations. It won't be available to everybody, is what it looks like.
Yeah.
There will be limitations. There'll be caps on it.
Right.
We'll get to that and more coming up.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. All right. 2 Columbia University public safety officers were injured, and dozens of people were in custody last night after 100 pro-Palestinian protesters 100 pro-Hamas protesters force their way into, I had to edit a Breitbart article. Force their way into a New York City campus library. Actions that were outrageous, the university president said. Acting university president said that officers were hurt in charge. Individuals who disrupted activities in Butler Reading Room 301 still refused to identify themselves and leave the building. Protesters started peacefully outside, the Daily News reported, but then some entered the Butler Library Reading Room at about 3:15 p.m. Activists wearing masks pushed through the security at the entrance to the library, as shown in videos on social media. One person pulled a fire alarm inside the library. After protesters were physically removed from the library, clashes broke out between demonstrators and New York Police Department and campus security in other parts of the campus. About 60 to 70 people were in custody. The deputy mayor told the news media. NBC News shared video of several dozen people pushing up against New York police barricades. I've seen that video. I'd play it, but there's too much cursing in there.
Yeah.
Just outside the university's campus, at least 3 protesters were taken out of the library by Columbia security in handcuffs. A 4th person was on a gurney and put into a Columbia ambulance. While this is isolated to one room in the library, it is completely unacceptable that some individuals are choosing to disrupt academic activities as our students are studying and preparing for their final exams. These disruptions of our campus and academic activities will not be tolerated. Individuals found to be in violation of the university rules and policies will face disciplinary consequences. So there you go. But, it looked. Let me just see. Was there another story on that I have here? No, that's the story I have there at Columbia. But yeah,
interesting that ICE was monitoring the situation, and part of it so that anyone arrested could be checked to see whether they were here legally. Very interesting part of that. Because this is the only thing the left has. Be disruptive. Be disruptive. Don't debate on the issues ever. And if need be, become violent in your disruption. This is not going to change.
No, it's not.
I mean, ask yourself, anything that escalates to this, what brings about the de-escalation? Well, a changing of hearts and minds in that radical group? What would bring about that? Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen in our lifetime. And the Democratic Party is fully on board with this kind of activity. Pritzker.
Yeah.
I haven't said this before, but... And then he tries to walk it back the next day. Sorry, Governor, you're in, and you're responsible for those words as somebody who's seen as the future of your party. Penguin. Batman Penguin. The whole thing with the left is not, it's the mob didn't get their way to the point that they won in 24. So they're going to go even further and what they want to do is break the will of people who vote against them. They want to break the will of anybody. Look, remember, silence is violence. You can't even stand down.
Well, the Fetterman thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Going after Fetterman now.
Right.
And it's like, whoa, here we go.
We've said over and over again, where this started with identity politics and creating a new victim every single day, and now subgroups, which means, all right, the group you're in today is a different group. You're a victim for a different reason, which means everybody that was in your group, the old group you were in yesterday, is now by default the oppressor. And at some point, if you're on that side at all, you're going to become the oppressor. We have many examples of that on the left. At some point, you are the oppressor.
Yeah.
Carville is quickly becoming
Jonathan Turley.
Turley.
Turley has been a loyal Democrat for years.
Yep.
And doesn't Turley's case remind you a lot of Bernard Goldberg?
Oh, well, yeah.
Bernard Goldberg, who said, I think he mostly voted Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
his entire life.
Yeah.
And he said he's a fiscal conservative but a social liberal.
Right.
But he worked for CBS, and
Yeah.
when he wrote the book Bias, because he'd worked for Dan Rather and said, no, there's bias in the network.
Right.
I'll never forget, it probably was about, because that book came out like 2000, 2001 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. Maybe it came out before that. I can't remember when Bias came out. Because then he had another book too. There was Bias, and there was a second book on it. And what he was saying was very simple. He was simply saying that journalism should be, you cover the story. This person said this today. And then as a news person, you get somebody who's in favor of it, who's reputable, and somebody who's against it, who's reputable.
Yeah.
Not somebody who's crazy or whatever, because you want to provide sober analysis on both sides of it.
Right.
And then the public gets to decide.
Right.
And it all came about because of Steve Forbes and Steve Forbes promoting the flat tax. So maybe it was I think that was the late 90s. I remember talking to Steve Forbes, and I was working in Buffalo. So I left Buffalo in 97. So I might have been talking to Steve Forbes before the election in 96, because that's when he was talking about it. And I believe he was a candidate at the time. He was a candidate. He was running for president, I think, at that time.
Yeah.
And so it might have been in the primaries before it. So it could have been 95 that I was talking to him. And so the report on CBS said the Steve Forbes flat tax scheme, and they only had an expert who was against it, nobody in favor of it. And he said, and Bernard Goldberg said, when I saw that, I knew it was. He said, because I know a bunch of people, a bunch of economists that like the flat tax, and they didn't put it in there. And when I explained to CBS or Dan Rather that it was bias, he said, I fought for this country, as if I was insulting his patriotism. I'll never forget that. But he was simply saying, this is how journalism should be done. It had to be, I can't remember what year it was, but it was after the book was written, which, again, was about bias in the media. And there was I think it was USA Today. It was like, all right-wing authors are doing gangbuster business. And it was like Ann Coulter, her book, Sean Hannity's book, and then Bernard Goldberg. It's like, Bernard Goldberg's not a right-winger. He's simply saying this is how journalism should run.
Right.
It shouldn't be people that are political activists. It should be people that actually want to cover the news and inform people and let them make their own decisions. Well, that's now, as we now know, that's fully right-wing now.
Yeah.
That's completely
exactly.
and totally
How dare you?
right-wing radical, if you believe that.
Well, again, Elon Musk. It's his association with Trump.
Yeah.
Not the fact that he wants to cut fraud and waste in government spending.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point.
It
might be that too far left, though.
well, given how they use, USAID money, and it was Schellenberger who did the piece on that, how some of that money was used politically.
Mm-hmm.
So, there could be that. But really, it's his association with Trump that makes him a Nazi. And then it goes to the point of leftist radicals burning EVs because he supported Trump.
Everybody knows why I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at the burning of the EVs.
It's the fact that that's their response.
That's the left's response. Well, they seem to care about the day before. Elon Musk became head of Doge and had a relationship with Donald Trump that they would do anything to protect EVs.
Exactly.
And then, boom, like that.
Right.
Let's get rid of them.
Right. And that's honestly, when you look at every turn, the left doesn't have the ability to debate. So what you see is a response in, okay, I'm going to call you a bigot. I'm going to talk about something that doesn't even apply here. We played the Jasmine Crockett audio cut earlier. We're going to deflect. We're not going to answer questions. We're not going to debate on the issues because we can't.
Or Neil Young does a pro-gasoline car song.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a very bad video of him performing it live. I listened to the quality's horrible, but I wasn't sure whether it was the quality of the person filming it or the actual,
or just the performance,
the actual performance.
Yeah,
but it was really bad.
Mm.
And if you missed it last week, I was reading the lyrics, and Eric thought I was making it up.
I thought you were making it up.
That they weren't really the lyrics of Neil Young's anti-Tesla song,
right?
And I said, no, Eric, these are the lyrics.
You go from Buffalo Springfield to this? What happened? Seriously. How many drugs did you do?
10 Teslas and Musk's army.
I mean.
All right, I made that up.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's better than what he wrote.
10 Teslas and Musk's army.
I mean,
more Fords in Ohio.
Exactly. Actually, that is a lot better than what he wrote.
I know.
But because they don't have anything on the issues, they don't win the points. When you don't win, much like a child, you throw a tantrum. Except with the left, it becomes especially dangerous because when you apply political power to that, and then that's applied to laws that govern our lives, then we become less and less of a free society. And that's what they're hoping to do again, clearly. The mob rules. The mob is going to intimidate people into changing politically, into not being this, not being that. I can't tell you what's next. Based on where they're at right now, I can't tell you where they're going to go in the future, but they're not going to give up.
Speaking of Kent State, yesterday I saw Devo has toured recently.
Oh, yeah.
Devo's from Kent State.
Oh.
And they don't, they're all old men. I'm like,
yeah.
And they don't have the yellow costumes on. I'm like,
the picture I saw, they did.
Oh, they really?
Yeah.
The picture I saw, they didn't.
Yeah. Now, they may not on stage. Maybe it was just for a photo op or something.
Yeah.
Because when I saw the old guys in the yellow costumes, I said, that looks more hazmat. That's not what you're going for. You look like you're here to remove some chemicals or something. Do some cleanup. That's not a good look.
I still think one of the greatest, not that I was some of their stuff was okay.
Yeah.
But when I saw them on Saturday Night Live, they were absolutely, the first time they appeared on Saturday Night Live, their choreography was fantastic.
Oh.
Because anybody who didn't know of Devo went, what the hell is this?
What am I watching? Yeah, that was great.
But it was all in sync.
Mm-hmm.
They were totally sync in every movement. It was like, it wasn't even the music. It was the beat and being in sync like that.
Right.
Like they were AI.
Yeah.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Why? Our show ends an hour from now, and then it becomes a podcast. That's right, on our Red Eye Radio app. Alan records everything.
That's right.
And then it goes right to the app, and that becomes our podcast. If you're not able to catch all 5 hours, well, you can catch whatever hour you want to catch.
That's right.
So we make it very easy for you. And if you can't listen to one of our great radio stations overnight for some reason, we also stream all 5 hours live on our Red Eye Radio app.
That's right. And thank you for listening.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.